Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber Security Plus podcast. This series helps you prepare for the CompTIA Security Plus exam with focused explanations and practical context. For a companion study guide, check out the Achieve CompTIA Security Plus 701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. It is the most concise and complete Security Plus guide on the market, built for busy professionals who want to pass the exam fast and on their first try. You can find this book and others at cyberauthor.me. One of the core principles in cybersecurity is simple. Verify first, then trust. Whether you're creating a new user account, granting access to sensitive systems, or allowing someone to authenticate through a third party, you need to know that the identity you're interacting with is valid. That's where identity proofing and federated identity management come into play. These two concepts help organizations establish trust in digital identities, either by validating users at the start or by securely accepting credentials from external identity providers. In this episode, we'll explore how identity proofing works and how federated identity systems make authentication scalable, secure, and seamless. Let's begin with identity proofing. Identity proofing is the process of verifying that a person is who they claim to be before giving them access to systems, services, or accounts. It's especially important during the onboarding phase when new users are first registered in your environment. Without effective proofing, everything else in your identity and access management program is built on shaky ground. There are several identity proofing techniques, depending on the level of assurance required. At the basic level, users may be asked to provide personal information, such as date of birth, social security number, or a unique code sent to a trusted email address. More advanced proofing methods include government-issued ID checks, biometric verification, live video interviews, and validation against authoritative databases like credit bureaus or passport systems. Let's walk through a real-world example. A bank offers online account creation. Before allowing a user to open a checking account, the system asks for a photo of their government-issued ID, a selfie for biometric matching, and a scan of a utility bill with matching name and address. The documents are verified using automated checks and human review. Only after these steps are completed is the new account activated. This protects the bank from identity fraud and ensures compliance with financial regulations. Identity proofing isn't limited to banking or healthcare. It also applies to enterprise onboarding. Imagine a global consulting firm hiring a remote contractor. Before giving that person access to sensitive systems, the company uses a third-party identity verification service. The contractor uploads a passport, answers identity-based questions, and performs a short video verification to confirm liveness and match. Once validated, the contractor receives an account and limited access based on their role. The strength of identity proofing must match the risk. For example, creating a basic community forum account might only require an email address, while accessing classified government systems would require full biometric proofing and background checks. Organizations must weigh the level of assurance they need and choose proofing techniques that match the sensitivity of the data or systems being protected. Another consideration is reproofing. Over time, credentials may become stale, user roles may change, or signs of compromise may appear. Identity proofing isn't always a one-time process. High-assurance environments may require periodic reactivation, especially for accounts with elevated privileges or long periods of inactivity. Now let's move on to federated identity management. Federation allows users to log into systems across organizational or domain boundaries using a single identity. Instead of creating a new account for every application or vendor, users authenticate through their home organization or identity provider. This is often referred to as single sign-on across domains. The main advantage of federation is convenience. Users don't have to remember dozens of usernames and passwords for different systems. They authenticate once through a trusted provider, and that identity is accepted by other systems based on established trust relationships. This reduces password fatigue, simplifies access, and improves user experience. Let's look at a real-world scenario. A university participates in an academic federation that allows students to access digital libraries, research tools, and campus systems using their school credentials. When a student logs in to an external library portal, that portal redirects them to the university's identity provider. The student authenticates with their usual username and password, and the university sends an assertion verifying the identity. The library grants access without the student having to manage a separate account. Federated identity is powered by protocols such as Security Assertion Markup Language, SAML, Open Authorization, auths, and OpenID Connect. These protocols handle the authentication flow and deliver identity assertions in a secure, tamper-proof format. The key is that the relying party, the application or service, doesn't authenticate the user directly. It trusts the identity provider to do that work and to vouch for the user's identity. There are also security benefits. Federation reduces the number of passwords in circulation, lowering the risk of phishing and credential reuse. Centralized identity providers can enforce strong authentication, monitor login patterns, and apply adaptive controls. If a user's account is compromised, it can be disabled in one place, cutting off access to all federated systems. However, federated identity management also introduces some challenges. First is the trust model. The relying party must trust that the identity provider has strong authentication and identity proofing in place. If the identity provider is weak or compromised, all connected systems are at risk. That's why organizations entering into federated relationships must evaluate their partners carefully. Another challenge is managing access scope. Just because a user is authenticated doesn't mean they should have full access to all resources. Role mapping and attribute-based access control must be implemented to ensure that users only receive the permissions appropriate to their role and context. Let's explore another example. A healthcare organization uses federated identity to allow doctors to access lab systems, pharmacy databases, and imaging tools, all through their primary hospital login. These systems reside in different networks and are managed by separate vendors. Federation streamlines access while maintaining central control. The identity provider uses multi-factor authentication and issues identity assertions with role information. If a doctor's contract ends, disabling the hospital account immediately cuts off access to all linked systems. Federation is also widely used in cloud services. Platforms like Google Workspace, Microsoft 365, Salesforce, and AWS all support identity federation. This allows enterprises to maintain a single user directory and enforce consistent policies, even when users are accessing external applications. Integration with single sign-on portals and multi-factor authentication further enhances security. To implement federation successfully, organizations must configure their identity providers securely, define metadata for each relying party, and monitor the authentication ecosystem for anomalies. Logs should be forwarded to security information and event management platforms for correlation and alerting. To summarize, identity proofing and federated identity management form the foundation of secure, scalable access control. Identity proofing ensures that users are who they claim to be before granting them access to sensitive systems or data. Federated identity systems allow that verified identity to be accepted across domains, reducing friction and improving control. Together, these tools support zero-trust architectures, compliance requirements, and a better user experience without sacrificing security. For the Security Plus exam, expect questions about identity proofing techniques, levels of assurance, and how federation works using SAML, OAuth, or OpenID Connect. You may be asked to evaluate a scenario where identity validation is required or where a federated login flow is taking place. Review terms like assertion, identity provider, relying party, reproofing, trust relationship, and authentication token. They're all essential to understanding identity security. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cybersecurity Plus podcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com. And before you take the test, make sure to check out the practice questions in the book Achieve CompTIA Security Plus SY0-701 Exam Success by Dr. Jason Edwards. They cover every domain and are a powerful way to lock in your knowledge.